Welcome back to The Painted Peach. I'm Mary, and I'm so glad you decided to join me today. Stick around for some Halloween fun. Okay, we are in a playlist collaboration today. It's always Halloween around here. So we're going to start off by doing a little ghost project. I'm going to show you the ghost I was telling you about and do this for you in a pre-recorded video. And if you want to try it, I hope that you will, and you'll post your video. You'll need some cheesecloth, a balloon. I just got these from the Dollar Tree in a 20-pack, $1.25. And then you need Mod Podge, a mason jar, a larger one is best, a bowl to mix in, and some water and something to mix with. So we're going to start by mixing Mod Podge and water. I do equal parts at first, and I add a little bit more Mod Podge afterwards because I kind of wanted to thicken it up just a bit. Just eyeball it. You don't want it to be watery, and you don't want it to be completely Mod Podgey. So kind of like a little bit looser than your Mod Podge normally would be. I don't really know how to explain it, but I do show you in the bowl exactly how I end up with it. You don't want it running around like water. You just kind of want it slowly moving. So I'm mixing up my Mod Podge, and then we are going to just take our cheesecloth and put it straight into our bowl. So we're going to unwrap it from our backing, and we're going to put it right in the bowl. Now you can cut it into pieces. I decided to just leave it as a whole. I've seen others cut it and drape different pieces over, but I figured why go through all that when you can just drape it all at one time. So I am going to get comfortable, and then I'm going to dip this all the way into my bowl. I quickly find out I did not make enough, so I end up pulling it back out and mixing the same amount again. So I would say mixed almost full of this size bowl that I'm using here. Not sure of the size, but I guess you can tell by looking at my hands about the size it would be. I have tiny hands, by the way. Anyways, I take it out and I end up mixing some more, and then I make sure that I saturate the whole cheesecloth. So it needs to be completely wet and saturated all the way through. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm mixing up another half of a bowl, and then I'm gonna put the whole thing right back in there and soak it all up. You can use gloves if you want. If you get irritated by any kind of a glue, I would recommend that. Me, I just use my hands. I'm messy. I'm a messy crafter. Okay, so I quickly realized I did not pull the cheesecloth apart all the way. So here you'll see me pulling it out and realizing after I start to use it that I need to pull it all the way apart, because right now it's folded over twice. And I know this because I use cheesecloth a lot, but for some reason I didn't use my brain when doing this. So here we go. So next thing you want to do is probably pull it all the way apart, but I can't seem to get it apart here. And I think, well, maybe this is a different cheesecloth. But no, it is the same cheesecloth. I do end up pulling it all the way apart in just a moment. But I will pick at it here for a little bit, and then I'm like, never mind. And I just move on. So the next thing you're going to want to do is get your jar, and you will get your balloon and blow it up. This is going to be the size of your ghost, so make it as big as you want or as small as you want. Just remember the size of your jar. It doesn't need to be much bigger than that, because ghosts are pretty much proportionate from top to bottom. So I made it just a little larger than my jar so it would flow to the ground a little more. And then here is where you'll see me start draping, and I pull it off because I realized quickly that I need to pull it apart. So here I am struggling once again trying to pull it apart, and I do finally get it. Once you pull it apart, you'll see that it is folded over twice. So you have a very big piece of cheesecloth and it's very see-through. That's what you want because, you know, ghosts are see-through, right? So once I get it finally figured out here, I'm pulling it all the way apart. You'll see how big this actually stretches out to be. All right, we've got it. Let's get our jar and put our balloon head back on there and start draping. Now, when you drape this, you want to make sure that you have it draped over enough that you have some touching the ground or your table. You want to make sure you're doing this on a wax sheet of paper or parchment paper so that it doesn't stick to anything, but you want to make it look like your ghost sheet is flowing on the floor, and this is the part that will stand up. It will hold your ghost up after you pop your balloon, and it should just stand there, and you take your mason jar out and everything. So now I'm just taking the back where it touches the ground and I'm pulling the rest of it straight back over to give it 2 layers. Now, if you cut yours into strips, you would just layer and layer until you don't have any more. I wanted mine to be a complete piece, so I did not cut strips. So I'm just fiddling with the bottom to make sure that it'll hold it up, so it'll be flowing on the table and have something to stand on once it dries. And I also want it to look ghost-like, so I'm pulling some of those little pieces apart and flowing it flat to the surface. It'll take you a minute to get it exactly how you want it, but at this point it should sit here overnight on this jar with the balloon and a place that nobody's going to mess with it or move it around, and just let it dry. So once it dries overnight, I will come back and I will show you guys exactly what to do next. Here's just a close-up view of how I have mine laying so that it'll have something to stand on, hopefully. Let's hope it works out. This is my first time doing this also, so we'll see if it's a flop, right? All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Okay, it's the next morning and our ghost is completely hardened. I didn't have a needle, so I'm using this old turkey needle thing that I have to pop the balloon. So you just want to pop the balloon, and while it's deflating, you can go up underneath and pull up the bottom part of the cheesecloth from your parchment paper. Sorry, I'm a little slow this morning. So it is completely solid when you pull it up. It will stay exactly the way that you laid it down. Now the top where the balloon is, it will indent a little bit. So you have to kind of pull the balloon and make sure that you put it back where it's supposed to be. It will pop right back though. As you can see here, when I push on it, it comes right back out. And the bottom part is nice and solid. So once I get the balloon all the way out, I move my mason jar and my parchment paper out of the way, and I make sure that I push out on the top to form it back the way it was. I did cut out some eyes and a mouth. You could just leave it as is, as a little ghost, but of course a cute little ghost has some eyes, right? I debated on whether to add the mouth or not, but I just painted some cardstock and we're gonna just hot glue it right on to our ghost. This was a super simple little craft idea for some see-through ghosts that stand on their own. I did not invent this idea. I found a few recipes on Pinterest for it, and I just kind of made it my own. Whenever you're putting these eyes on, you do not want to touch the back of it, of course, because it's hot glue. You want to make sure that you put your hand in there, though, and kind of push around so that you don't indent your ghost. It is a little bit flexible up at the top. And then make sure you get them nice and attached on there. So here's the little eyes, and just like that, it's cute, but I wanted a mouth on mine. Most of the ones that I see only had eyes, and when I think of a little ghost, I think of them having that mouth, wide open. So I also made a mouth, and I'm going to place that on my ghost as well. Here you see Moose. He's very interested in checking out what I've got going on, so he's going to say hello to the ghost. All right, we're going on to project number 2. I have this pattern I created myself. You can find these patterns online, or if you would like this one, you can always reach out to me and I will try my best to get it to you. I'm just going to start out by cutting this out, and we are going to make sure that we cut 2 of these on our fabric instead of just one, and they're going to be opposite directions. I'm going to use this fabric and I'm going to actually paint it. So I will need to make one of the crows one way and then the other way. So I'm just going to take a marker and outline this. You can pin this down, but I just feel it's a lot faster to just hold it in place and mark around it. If you want a tattered edge, you can make it a little bit bigger than what the crow is, and just that will leave a little bit more of an edge. I don't want mine to be tattered. I just want it to be close to the pattern as I can get it. So I'm making 2. I'm not doing them in opposite directions though, because I am painting my fabric. If you have a pattern fabric you're using, make sure you make one of your crows going the other way so they will go back to back. So now I'm just going to cut them out, and then we're going to also get the wing part of the pattern and trace it out as well. Once we get that, we'll cut it, and then we will move on to painting. So you see here, I've got all of my patterns. I'm making sure I turn one of those over to make sure they go back to back. And I'm using some black chalk paint. You can paint your fabric. You don't have to have a specific color. I like to paint the fabric because it stiffens it up for purposes of primitive creations. And I thought that, I think it just makes it a lot better. Now I'm just going to start gluing. I have that little makeup applicator, or I guess it's a mask applicator that you get from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use that to push down my glue so I don't burn myself. I'm going to go all the way until I reach the point where I want to put my stick in, which I'm going to use a spindle, and you can use whatever you'd like. But these are called crow pokes, because they have a stick coming out and you can poke them into a plant or whatever you desire. I'm also getting out some pumpkin spice, and I'm using that pumpkin spice on the inside of my fluffing so that the crow will smell like pumpkin spice. I'm using a pencil to push it in there nice and tight so that we can stuff it really tight and it won't be all flimsy. I'm using an old pillow to get my stuffing because, why not repurpose instead of going out and spending money? This fabric was some leftover scraps, and it's so much easier to just paint it up instead of going out and trying to find a specific color of fabric. Here's my spindle. I'm going to stick it in there where I want it, and then I'm going to use the hot glue to
glue the fabric right around the spindle. And then I'll continue stuffing the tail of my crow and then glue it together as well. I think these are super cute to make with or without the spindle in the bottom. You could use them as little bowl fillers, and you can use these in the fall and Halloween. Honestly, I still have them sitting in my fireplace, so they've been in there year round for me. I'm adding the pumpkin spice to the outside of it as well, and that just grunges it up a little bit to make it a more primitive crow. Now I'm just gluing on that wing, and it's just going to go in half around the crow to give it a wing on its back. I'm only adding the glue to the top so that the wing will kind of be flappy instead of stuck onto the bird itself. And here I'm showing you that. And there's the other one where I stuck it on a little bit too close. So I like it this version a lot better. Now I'm just going to add some embellishments. I have some ribbon, some twine, I have a button for the eye, and I have a little bit of Sweet Annie to add in for that primitive vibe. Again, if you'd like this pattern, you can reach out to me. I'll try my best to get it to you, and you can also just search up crow poke. I'm sure you'll find some patterns online as well. Again, remember this is a playlist today, and it is all about Halloween. It's like Halloween all year. If you love Halloween like me, then you would jump on this one too, right? So if you want to see a lot of creatives doing some Halloween, make sure you check out that playlist that's in my description and see what all the fun is about. All right, we added that button for an eye. We've got a ribbon and twine, and I have a little rusty safety pin. And now we're adding the Sweet Annie. This was the bottom of the barrel of my Sweet Annie, but I do have more now, so I'm really excited to get some projects going for more primitive looks. Here he is all finished up. I just love how he turned out, and here's his friend. Thank you so much for joining me today. Again, go check out the playlists and the hosts in my description. Leave me a comment and make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And as always, stay peachy.